Good evening and welcome. You're with News First, your number one news provider. I'm Shamir Rasuldin.
And I'm Nicola D'Souza. We start off with a look at tonight's headlines.
President Mahinda Rajapaksa reiterates that foreign forces will not be allowed to destabilize the nation. Common opposition candidate Maithripala Sirisena deposits bond under the symbol of the swan as the New Democratic Front. JHU to support the common candidate. MOU signed under 10 agreements. Eastern Provincial Council adjourned until the end of the presidential polls.
And on our top story tonight, President Mahinda Rajapaksa says that foreign forces will not be allowed to destabilize the nation. The head of state made this comment at an event in Colombo today.
The handing over of Mahapula scholarships to university students for the academic year of 2012 and 2013 took place at the Shalika Hall in Naharayampita today. President Mahinda Rajapaksa presided at the occasion and presented the scholarships to the recipients. The budget increased the Mahapula scholarship monthly allowance per student to 4,000 rupees, and according to the President's media unit, 45,000 students will become beneficiaries of the fund.
What I request from you is this: expedite your education activities and enter society. There were times when students used to stay in universities for years and years. What happens with every passing year is that the service you owe your nation is postponed. Give priority to your education. Think independently. You need to become a revolutionary. However, you must also focus on your country. You have the right and strength to think. However, I also believe that you must act thinking of your future and the future of the country.
Speaking further, President Rajapaksa added that an economy cannot be built from a destabilized nation.
Development cannot be reversed. It needs to move forward. We cannot allow a country to be destabilized. We are aware how powerful nations in the world destabilized other countries. Look at Libya, Egypt, the Middle East and Iraq. They were destroyed by powerful nations. This is not something new. Therefore, I firmly believe that you must not allow international forces to destabilize your nation.
India's National Security Advisor Ajit Doval visited President Mahinda Rajapaksa this morning at the President's house in Colombo. Doval is in Sri Lanka to attend the Gold Dialogue 2014. Discussing bilateral relations, Doval expressed much satisfaction on the quality and range of relations between Sri Lanka and India. High Commissioner of India in Sri Lanka, YK Singha, and several other senior officials accompanied Doval.
The bond for common opposition candidate Maithripala Sirisena was deposited today under the New Democratic Front. The bond was deposited under the symbol of the swan. The bond was deposited by a group including lawyers on behalf of Maithripala Sirisena at the election secretariat today.
Meanwhile, former Minister Navin Dissanayake revealed today that he had been offered 100 million rupees on behalf of the government to refrain from supporting Maithripala Sirisena. He made this revelation at a media briefing held in Colombo this morning.
Maithripala Sirisena was accompanied by Navin Dissanayake at the media briefing held at the opposition leader's office.
Maithripala Sirisena podu apekshakayage chanda vyapari.
Minister Navin Dissanayake joined us to support the campaign of common opposition candidate Maithripala Sirisena. He came to Sirikota yesterday. We are especially gladdened that he has reaffirmed his ties with this party. Not only did Gamini Dissanayake establish the Mahaveli scheme, he also worked towards our victory in 77, 82 and 88.
My late father Gamini Dissanayake and Lalit Atulak Mudali took political decisions when it was required. Now he has embarked on a similar political journey. When I first heard that he would come forward, I contacted him and gave him my word, saying, Minister Maithripala, I am with you. They tried to encourage me to stay after that. 2 or 3 people came to meet me with large sums of money, but I rejected it because I gave him my word. I pray that I know now that his victory is certain. There is no international conspiracy here. Navin Dissanayake crossed over to the government with 17 people. We joined the government to end the war. Following the end of the war, when the president was abroad, it was he that was the defense minister. So, my friends, a person such as this will never act in line with international conspiracies. I can say this with certainty.
ජාත්‍යන්තර කුමන්ත්‍රණ වලට හැසිරෙන්නේ නැහැ. ඒක මට ස්ථිරවම කියන්න පුළුවන්.
Speaking further, Navin Disanayake commented on fraud and corruption.
චීනෙන් ලැබෙන ආධාරවලින්
I am personally aware that there are large-scale irregularities when it comes to aid given by China. The southern expressway from Mattala to Hambantota is 96 kilometers. The cost is $412 million. We know, and the RDA too is aware, that it should only cost $2 million per kilometer. Here, the cost is $14 to $16 million per kilometer. Who is responsible for this? As the highways minister, the president must tell this country how this went from $2 million to $16 million. Another highway is the Colombo Ring Road. Funding for that too came from XLM Bank in China. Here is a kilometer costing $18 million. Here, a kilometer is costing $18 million.
කරන්නේ එතුමාට මගේ සහයෝගය ලබා දෙන්නේ ඒකටයි. ඔව්. නෑ අතෝෂම් දේශපාලන අර්බුදයක්.
A political crisis. What are they doing now? Instead of campaigning, they are catching the people who are leaving. There are 3 or 4 businessmen there who give money to stop the ministers and MPs from leaving.
මේ යන මේ ඇමතිවරුන්ටයි මන්ත්‍රීවරුන්ටයි නවත්තන්න. Unfortunately, I'm not that valuable. I was offered 100 million. It's not a huge amount. No, I have no price. I have no price because once I make a decision to come out, you can't buy me out. I mean, I could have asked for a higher amount, but what's the point? I mean, you can't sell your heart and your soul. Behalf of the government, but I can't tell you the names. It's not proper and ethical for me to do that. No, that's the thing. So when he becomes a president, he is going to appoint a commission. Right now, I don't think it's appropriate for me to name them in public. Like Navinge dakshakam walata.
There was no place in the government for Navin's talent, knowledge and ability. I am clearly aware of this. It was not people of this caliber that received resources and responsibilities in the government. As the son of one of the greatest visionary leaders in the country, the late Gamini Disanayake, Navin Disanayake today has taken a correct and important political decision. Journalists question the common candidate here as to whether he would give Ranil Wickremesinghe the position of Prime Minister within 24 hours if elected.
The Jatika Helurume announced today that they would support common opposition candidate Maithripala Sirisena at the 2015 presidential election. The JHU made the announcement after common candidate Maithripala Sirisena signed an agreement with the leader of the JHU, Venerable Omalpe Sobhitathera.
Representatives of the JHU and Maithripala Sirisena were present at the media briefing convened today in Pitakotte. The pact that was signed by both parties, which included 10 political reforms, was released to the media today. The pact notes that a national consensus will be created within Parliament for constitutional reform with regard to the executive presidency, electoral system and good governance. The pact also agrees on the removal of arbitrary powers vested with the executive presidency, the establishment of a strong opposition which will attribute to a sustainable government, and also the introduction of an electoral system that will combine the first past, the post and proportional representation systems to ensure the representation of various political ideologies. It also agrees to pass a bill on the right to information on all facts relating to development and financial processes that do not pertain to national security. The parties also agreed to fight against any attempt to bring the president as the commander-in-chief and other military officials who took action to eradicate terrorism to any war tribunal.
The Jatika Helurume has decided to support opposition common candidate Maithripala Sirisena at the forthcoming presidential elections. Within 100 days of his appointment to power, we hope to re-establish democracy, re-establish the rule of law and good governance and also fulfill other aspirations. We have also agreed to balance the public mandate of the executive president and the legislature. The unity government will not be a Chandrika Kumaratunga or a Ranil Wickremesinghe government, but it will consist of all parties. We would like to invite President Mahinda Rajapaksa to join the national unity government.
There are no secret pacts. I have not reached any secretive agreement with any political party or group, and neither will I sign such agreements in the future. All agreements I have signed are open for public scrutiny. During the past week, I witnessed a number of posters slinging mud at me that were pasted throughout the city of Colombo. This clearly shows how politically bankrupt the government campaign is. We have brought forward a candidate who can bring about a resounding victory at the presidential election. When we bring forward such a candidate, the state media is being used in an inappropriate manner. We hope to create a common national consensus on a national policy that is required by the country.
The agreement reached yesterday was one that was initiated by the National Movement for Social Justice, spearheaded by the Venerable Madhuluwave Sobhita Thero. Ours is different and is a short-term one. Our pact only meets a process that will be implemented within 100 days. Yesterday's pact goes beyond that. It speaks of socio-economic reforms that will take place under a new legislature. In the long run, it does not have a big difference. Once he is made president, a national unity government will be formed. For this, the Prime Minister will require 113 seats. Ranil Wickremesinghe currently has only 43 seats. He will need another 70 seats for this. For that, he will need the support of the SLFP. So if the SLFP holds the position of president and the opposition leader holds the position of prime minister in the short term on a common agenda, then we will not oppose it. With regard to Parliament, provincial councils and local government bodies, the JHU holds a firm stance. We will not take part in the budget debate.
The United People's Freedom Alliance convened a media briefing today. Let's take a look at some of the views expressed at this media briefing.
The JHU has agreed on a pact with the common candidate. Who is Maithripala Sirisena? He is only the common candidate. He has no political party or organization. He is simply the common candidate. He only has that label. I have shown you the difference between being strong with an alliance and having to reach agreements with political parties that strengthen this alliance. I did not see the dove. Where did it go? I think it flew about a little and returned to the cage. Most importantly, doves do not fly amongst each other. Maybe this is a sign that, like the previous General Secretaries of the SLFP, Maithripala Sirisena too might come back to us. There are 14 political parties in this alliance. All of them are in Parliament. There are regional political parties too that are represented in the Parliament. The Mahajana Party is represented in the Provincial Council. Such is the public representation within the alliance.
This cartoon is from the media and it has a beautiful story behind it. On one side is Chandrika and on the other side is Ranil Wickremesinghe. Champika from the JHU and Fonseca too are here. These four cannot even have tea together for 10 minutes, let alone form an alliance.
A rally organized by the Citizens' Power Movement commenced in Hyde Park, Colombo this evening. The rally was held under the auspices of common opposition candidate Maithripala Sirisena, with Venerable Madhuluwave Sobhita Thero, Chandrika Bandaranaike Kumaratunga and Sarath Fonseca also in attendance.
If you do the math, you will see that all of the expressways that were built could have been coated in gold. We can see the excessive corruption and wastage right before our very own eyes. Therefore, we have all cast aside party differences and forgotten religious and ethnic differences and have come onto the one stage for a just society, a law-abiding society. We have come to abolish the dictatorial executive presidency and best power in parliament. We have been given the opportunity to cast aside ethno-religious differences and work together in the name of our motherland and in the name of fairness.
වැඩ කරන්නට අවස්ථාව උදා වෙලා තිබෙනවා.
Western Provincial Councillor of the UPFA Kirti Karyavasam, addressing the council today, said that he would be supporting the common opposition candidate Maithripala Sirisena at the upcoming presidential elections. He is the treasurer of the Lanka Samasamaja Party as well as a Politburo member.
We were always against the executive presidency. We always maintained the stance that it should be changed. We decided and we had to come to an agreement with regard to the upcoming presidential elections that Maithripala Sirisena would be the common opposition candidate.
ගරු මන්ත්‍රීතුමා මේ මට ඔබතුමාට කාලා බදන්න බෑ ඔබතුමාගේ වරප්‍රාප්තයක් නෙමෙයි නිසා
As a part of his policy statement, Maithripala Sirisena has promised to abolish the executive presidency, change the election system and reinstate the 17th Amendment to the Constitution, as well as establish a governing system that gives more prominence to democracy. As I was thinking about following what was introduced in his program, it should be stated that all these parties on the left, myself included, signed the common agreement.
ගරු මන්ත්‍රීතුමා ඔබතුමා මට මේ ඔබතුමාට කාලා ලබා දෙන්න බෑ මට දිගින් දිගටම මේ ඔබතුමා මගෙන් අවසර ඉල්ලුවා 36 ඇතු වරප්‍රාප්තයක් මේ ගන්න ඔබතුමා වෙන ප්‍රකාශයක් කරන්න දැන් මට ඒ නිසා ඔබතුමා මට මුලාසෙන් දෙන්න බෑ ඔබතුමාට.
However, I will remain a UPFA member in the Provincial Council.
Sittings of the Eastern Provincial Council have been postponed until the 12th of January without the budget for the 2015 being passed. Chairperson of the Eastern Provincial Council, Aryavati Galapati, said that the sittings were postponed following a tense situation that arose in the chamber.
When the second budget of the Eastern Provincial Council was being presented by the Chief Minister yesterday, members of the opposition voiced their objection over the presentation of the budget when only 7 members of the government were present. Sittings were postponed yesterday after a tense situation arose in the council and members of the opposition attempted to take away the mace. While sittings resumed this morning, a tense situation arose again when the Education Minister Wimalavira Dissanayake questioned the expenditure heads of the Chief Minister. Our correspondents reported that 10 government councillors and 15 opposition councillors were present in the chamber at the time.
When the sitting commenced today, they attempted to drag out the problem and grab the mace. When they attempted to grab the mace, I took it and adjourned sittings to the 12th of January and left.
Following the adjournment of the sitting, opposition councillors staged a demonstration claiming the adjournment was illegal.
The budget debate must be concluded this month. Since there is no quorum in the council, they are acting out of fear that they will lose. The Eastern Provincial Council must not be made undemocratic. Therefore, we voiced our opposition.
Addressing a media briefing today, opposition leader of the Uva Provincial Council, Harin Fernando, noted that a revolution will take place in the Uva Provincial Council in the coming weekend. Harin Fernando arrived at the UNP headquarters, Sirikota, attired in winter clothing.
I am wearing a jacket today because there persists an unusual cold climate in the Uva province. Even though MPs are brought and media briefings are held, even during these media briefings, we get SMS messages from these MPs asking about the date when they are to cross over. So we have made the necessary preparations for this. With faith, we can say that even if the provincial council sessions are adjourned till after the 15th of January also, there are legal frameworks and we have means of proving that we have the majority power to function across these legal frameworks. If a provincial council is going to be adjourned because it's cold, then that in itself shows that there is no representation of the people. As of now, the provincial council members' worth amounts to 30 to 40 million rupees. This means that it has come to a time where about 30 to 40 million rupees is paid so that defections are prevented. We have a strong belief that by next week or even by the end of this week, there will be a colossal uprising in the Uva Provincial Council because there is a group that is coming forward that hopes to change and respects the democracy of the country.
Deputy Leader of the United National Party, Sajith Premadasa, expressed his concern about the manner in which rations which were not distributed during the drought are now being distributed ahead of the upcoming presidential poll.
The elections have just begun, and look and behold, dancels have sprung up across the island. In the past, temple trees was called temple trees, but now we have to call it the temple trees dancela. A love and concern that has never been seen before is now being displayed towards the people and citizens of this country. I have a question to ask. Why is this temple trees dancela being operated only during the presidential election? There is no relief for the drought victims. They are operating a bribe system ahead of the elections. MP Sajid Premadasa expressed these views at an event held to donate money to the Baragama Welfare Society in Madilla, Ambalantota.
The Council of the European Union has decided to appeal the judgment of the General Court to lift the ban on the LTTE. The judgment of the General Court of the European Union annulled measures taken by the Council of the European Union against the LTTE, namely the designation of the LTTE as a terrorist organization and the freezing of LTTE funds.
A statement issued today by the EU mission in Sri Lanka reads that it is important to remember that the ruling was based on procedural grounds and that it did not imply any assessment by the court of substantive issues by designating the LTTE or of freezing LTTE funds. The Council has now decided to challenge some of the findings of the court regarding the procedural grounds to list terrorist organizations under EU autonomous measures to combat terrorism. Furthermore, the statement reads that the effects of the judgment are suspended until a final judgment is rendered by the Court of Justice. The EU institutions are also studying carefully other appropriate remedial actions that may be taken to avoid possible annulments in the future.
Now, extreme weather conditions experienced over the island overnight and into this morning caused extensive property damage and in some cases even loss of life. Newsfirst visited the Department of Meteorology today to make inquiries into what is causing the extreme weather.
The time approximately is 3 p.m. here in Colombo. Now, fair weather conditions have been reported in the Colombo and in the surrounding areas. But according to the Met Department, showers or thunder showers could prevail in the northern, north central, eastern, Uva and in the Hambantota district. Now, the Met Department further stated that this showery weather condition could reduce in the coming 2 days.
2 people were killed yesterday when an earth embankment collapsed in the Loinan Estate colony in Bogavantalawa during heavy rain. The victims were a 45-year-old woman and her 19-year-old daughter. 150 people from 30 families in the area have been evacuated and are being sheltered at the Loinan Estate Tamil College. A rock collapsed on a house in the Wathola area in Katugasta Kandy at around 11:45 last night. An elderly woman residing in the house was rescued by area residents.
ජීවිතම් මරණ සටනට තමයි ඉන්නේ මට ළමයි තුනෙක් ඉන්නවා ගෙවල් පහක් අවදානටත් ඉන්නේ.
A section of the Badulla Mahiyangania road is also at risk of collapsing. Our reporter says part of the access road to the Dunhinda waterfall has collapsed and that part of the road in front of the Suranatara Pradesh Sabha building has also collapsed. Our reporter adds that transportation on the Badulla Mahiyangania road has been hampered between the 8 Mile Post and Vidipana area as a result of rock slides and cut failures. Traffic flow on the Barakapola Karavanalla road was hampered by a fallen tree in the Near-Durupola area. A building at the Near-Durupola Mahavidyalaya was severely damaged when an earth embankment collapsed onto it. Transportation from the Valleypanna interchange on the southern expressway towards Mathugama came to a standstill this morning due to floods. Several low-lying areas in Jaffna have also been inundated by flood waters. People in Dibaham, Temmarachi, Vadamarachi and other areas have been displaced by the floods and are being sheltered at temporary camps. Our reporter says 790 families have been affected in the Sadilippai area alone.
We are expecting showers further to the northern and eastern parts, especially northern, north central, eastern, Uva provinces and over Hambantota districts, and then thunder showers will develop elsewhere, and then especially it will move towards western parts later, and therefore still we have to expect showers all over the country, but we expect some kind of a reduction tomorrow afterwards.
The import tariff on a kilogram of big onions has been increased to 50 rupees with effect from today. This decision has been reached with the aim of providing a better price for the produce of local big onion farmers. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Cooperatives and Internal Trade has taken steps to purchase locally sourced big onions at the certified price of 90 rupees per kilogram.
The flooding of imported big onions into the local market led the local farmer facing severe hardships. Over the past several days, local farmers protested demanding the limitation of imported big onions and requested that a fair price be introduced for the local produce. As a result of this, the government decided to purchase locally sourced big onions at 90 rupees per kilogram via Lanka Satosa. Long queues were witnessed at the purchasing centres established by the government since yesterday. Although big onions are purchased from the farmers during the day, these farmers were seen lining up at night awaiting their turn.
I counted 60 tractors to this point and there are 30 to 40 more ahead. I fear that we might have to turn back. It's the 1st of December. I'm at the end of the line. I will have to sell my big onions either on the 3rd or the 4th, that is in the next 2 days. The rain destroyed a majority of the harvest. I managed to protect some of it. We are completely fed up with the harvesting. We wonder why we have to suffer so much. We arrived here on the 30th. Today is the 2nd of December. I handed over my produce a few minutes ago. The stores are being filled at present. There are vehicles loaded with big onions for another kilometre and a half.
Although the government announced that it would purchase a kilogram of big onions for 90 rupees, a kilogram of big onions is being sold at the Dambulla Economic Centre for a price between 70 and 80 rupees. Taking this into account, the government increased the import tax on big onions by 15 rupees.
And on Crime Watch tonight, a police investigation is underway into a shooting that took place in Maharagama last night. Police said that the shooting occurred when an individual attempted to rob a store, adding that 2 other individuals were injured in the incident.
The robbers entered the shop located down Piliyandalamawatha in Maharagama between 8 and 9 p.m. last night. The robbers, who wore headgear and protective coats, broke into the store where the robbery was recorded on the CCTV cameras at the shop. Police stated that the thieves escaped by firing a T-56 assault rifle when workers at the shop tried to stop them. The injured were rushed to the Colombo South Teaching Hospital, where one of them is receiving treatment at the ICU. According to police, cash valued at almost 200,000 rupees was stolen from the store.
Life after the wave, 10 years after the tsunami, a photo exhibition depicting Switzerland's post-tsunami assistance to Sri Lanka was declared open in Colombo today.
The exhibition was declared open by the Swiss ambassador to Sri Lanka, Heinz Walker Nederkorn, and was graced by a distinguished gathering. The photographs depict scenes from the tsunami disaster and the lives of the people living in houses constructed with the assistance from Switzerland 10 years later.
Ten years later, Sri Lanka is a country with renewed hope. Development is expected to bring new and exciting livelihood opportunities. Few people have been untouched by adversity, but all have proved resilient and steadfastly hopeful despite changing fortunes.
Sri Lanka's first ever purpose-built football training facility was declared open in Aryalai, Jaffna today by visiting FIFA President Sepp Blatter.
Sepp Blatter, who arrived in the country yesterday, will conclude his whirlwind tour of Sri Lanka after attending the event to commemorate local football's 75th anniversary. He also called on President Mahinda Rajapaksa this morning. It was afterwards that the FIFA president visited Jaffna to declare open the Jaffna Stadium.
Manager of the Sri Lanka cricket team, Michael De Zoysa, says that Thilina Kandambi will be included to the Sri Lankan squad for the 3rd ODI against England to replace batsman Mahela Jayawardene. Speaking to Sports First, he went on to say that the team has not reached a final decision on the squad for tomorrow's game. Both teams took part in their final practice sessions today at the Surya Weber Stadium in Hambantota ahead of the third ODI. Sri Lanka currently lead the 7-match ODI series 2-0. The third ODI between Sri Lanka and England will commence at 2:30 p.m. tomorrow.
The 29th Sports First Government Krida program, which aims to spread enthusiasm for sport across the country, commenced at the Karandanya Central College today. A number of local and international coaches and resource personnel participated in this program. The Government Krida program commenced with a road race. An event was also held to introduce the resource personnel and the goals of the program. A donation was also made towards the renovation of the cricket nets at the school, which are in a dilapidated state. Training camps for sports including cricket, volleyball, badminton, athletics, karate, tennis, table tennis, basketball and netball were held today. Scholarships were presented to students who displayed skills during the program.
Until a year ago, basketball was simply a sport played on the court. However, a group of basketball enthusiasts who call themselves Face Team have taken this to the next level.
Now watch this footage. These sportsmen perform incredible stunts and they are professionals. Now the line that I love to say. Please do not try this at home. Take a good look at this footage and good night.
Good night.